And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Welcome to the Dice Tower.
Today we're talking about a game called Squarrels, which is a mix between Squirrels and Quarrel. It's a game about collecting nuts, and there's different cards in the game as you play cards. But to me, this game of collecting nuts, and it's supposed to be a fast, fun card game, it ultimately can be really frustrating for some of the players. There's some rules in here that just really don't seem to jive that well, and I just don't find it very fun at all. So let's take a look at it first. Alright, the game comes with a big deck of cards that you'll be playing from. And this is one of the problems I have with the game. There's a winter card that's inserted randomly in the deck, and that tells you when a round's over. Really? Because it can show up 2 cards after you play a round, or it can show up at the very end of the deck. It just seems kind of confusing. But players are going to have a handful of numeric cards. You start with 7 of them, and you're trying to get sets of 3. So on your turn, I can store these in front of me in my nut pile. So on your turn, you draw up to 7 cards. If you have 7, you draw 1. And then any nuts you can store face down. And then at the end of your turn, you put 1 card in the middle of the table in a pile called the Hoard pile. And then you draw cards at the beginning of your turn. Now, most of the time, that's pretty simple. It's almost like go fish. But there are cards that when you draw them, they're special action cards that do different things. For example, when you play Ambush, you steal a card from everyone else's hand. When you play Hoard, the first person besides yourself who slaps the Hoard pile gets it. When you play Whirlwind, you redistribute all the cards, which can be really annoying for strategy purposes. And then the card that the game is focused about, the Quarrel card. When this happens, each player takes a card from their hand, and they all put them face down, and they reveal them. Whoever plays the highest card wins all the cards. If there's a tie, you play another card and you keep going. Now, I'm going to say a problem with that, too. That means if you have a 5 card, there's nothing the other players can do about it. You play a 5, and you win all the cards. Now, if they have a 5, too, and then you win the cards, and when another quarrel happens, you still have that 5. I just don't understand the concept behind that. Now, there is one thing in this game that I do like, and that's the fact that there's a rotten acorn and a golden acorn in the game. And with the rotten acorn and the golden acorn, you can try to get those. The rotten acorn is worth -5 points at the end of the game, and while the golden acorn is worth an extra 5 points at the end of the game, if you can get another player to steal those from your hand, or if you play those in a quarrel, then the other players will get them. So it's fun to play a rotten acorn in a quarrel to give it to the player who has that 5. But I'm sorry, losing 5 points in a quarrel is still not worth it. I'll still play my highest card possible, and I'll simply play the rotten acorn next time. What does it matter? So that's basically how the game works. At the end of the game, you will turn your sets face up, and each set is worth the number on it. So once again, 5s are worth more points than everything else. And whoever has the most points, you add them up, and you start another round. And you keep playing until someone gets sick and has to run to the bathroom, or until all players mutually agree to quit, which is going to happen, or until someone reaches a certain amount of points, 50 points or so. I really can't say much more as to why I don't like it. I just pretty much explained all my reasons. I don't mind light card games where you play the cards and you see what happens and, okay, you did better than I did. But this one just seemed to be vicious. And here's one thing I really disliked. On your turn, you draw your cards one at a time until you have 7 cards in your hand. Now, it's possible that you might only have 3 cards because you had sets or whatever. So you have 3 cards that you draw 4. The first card you draw is an action card. You play Hoard. Someone else slaps the deck. It's now the person to their left's turn. So sometimes you sit there for like 5 minutes and you don't get to make any turns because every time it comes back to your turn, you play an action card and bam, it's someone else's turn again. That's really annoying. I think that's how I would describe this game. It's just annoying. And why would I want to buy a game that's annoying? What do you think of it?
I don't like it either. Because, yeah, that's the problem with Hoard. Because whenever I play Hoard, and it was like one of my first or second card that I draw, and I only have like 1 card because of all the sets I always get, it's always me who's smacking the horde, and then it's automatically Holly's turn, something like that. It's really annoying to me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea. Some of the ideas in the game are fun, but it just doesn't gel together as a complete game. So, thumbs down for this one. Sorry, Squarrels.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.